Hello, SLAE family. It's Tuesday and we're going on a journey today. I am so thrilled to have our guest here today because I know all of us are going to learn from her and be inspired by her. And some of you might even make some changes in your life as well. And I'm really excited to have her here today because Erin Moran is going to share with us a story about, I would say, courage and taking a leap of faith. And her journey is absolutely incredible, professionally and personally, for herself, for her children. And I know you're going to just love hearing from her. So first things first, I'm so thrilled you took the time to be here as a guest today. Thank you for being here. And if
Thanks,
you
Leanne.
wouldn't mind, if you could take a minute and maybe share with everybody where it started. So once upon a time, professionally, where were you? How old were your kids when this journey started?
So thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm really grateful. I was the Chief Culture Officer at Union Square Hospitality Group based in New York City. Union Square Hospitality Group is probably best known for being the parent company of Shake Shack, but they own and operate all different types of hospitality venues, from corner cafes with coffee and crullers to Michelin-starred fine dining restaurants, but primarily in the New York City area. And as the Chief Culture Officer, I was responsible for the employee experience. And I had been with them for about 7 years. That's when I started I loved what I was doing, but I started to just really reevaluate how things were going relative to the home front. And it was actually January of 2020 when I took this kind of deep assessment of where I was and where I wanted to be. And the kids at that point in time were 10 and 12.
Excellent. And so all of us at some point in life have been somewhere where we go, you know, I might need to rethink some things. And you got to that point.
I did.
What were some of because your journey is exciting for people to hear. So what were some of the things that started for you to make you go, maybe I do need to make a change? I mean, everybody has days that they're frustrated or, you know, all that, but what were the things that were significant that went in your head?
Well, for the past, I'd say probably about 10 years, I've been doing this kind of reflective period in the month of January. Some people would call it like New Year's resolutions. For me, it was kind of an inventory of the prior year and a planning for the next year. So what do I want to, carry forward into the new year, but what do I want to leave behind? And I've gone through this in a pretty analytical way with like 3 different buckets: professional, personal, and financial. In January of 2020, when I was evaluating my professional accomplishments and what I had achieved, I was feeling incredibly proud. When I was looking at financial, I'm preparing for retirement and the kids' college fund. So I was feeling like check. When I was thinking about personal, what I wanted to do differently was not feel like every conversation that I was having with the kids came from an agenda. And that's where I had gotten. And so when I was thinking about the financial component and all of this preparation for the future, I thought, well, we might not all have a future together if I'm not actually investing right now. And I remember thinking back on the prior conversations that I had been having with the kids and them feeling distant. Everything about what we were doing was transactional, literally creating an agenda, not passing it out like I would at a meeting, but like on my phone for things that I wanted to cover with them. And I, as a leader, I have coached so many other leaders to try to be relationship forward and relationship focused rather than task focused in terms of leading teams. And I thought, holy crap, you say that at work and you try to live that at work, but at home, you're failing miserably because you are, barking orders. You are focused on the tasks and the transactions, but do you really know how your kids feel? And I couldn't have answered that question honestly about how they were feeling because we hadn't spent the time to have those types of conversations. And so that was kind of the moment of reckoning for me when I said something has to change. I don't know what's going to change, but something has to change because I don't want to fail so miserably as a mother.
So did you feel like it was that you weren't home enough or present enough with them, or were you home, but you were bringing home your work with you? Where do you think that disconnect happened for you?
It was both. And it was also, I think, because I was focused on the barking of orders to them and the making sure that the details of life were getting maintained, that the distance between us started to creep in. And so even if I was home, they weren't wanting to spend as much time with me. And so I would say, well, if they don't want to spend time with me, great, I'll get some more work done. Fantastic. And I was looking at that actually as a win, because I was like, oh, well, they don't need me right now, so I'll just plug in and get more work done. And so because I wasn't making more of the effort to connect with them, distance grew. And so they would retreat to their rooms and I would retreat to my home office at night. And even when I was attempting to have conversations with them, in my brain, I was still thinking a lot about work.
Wow.
And so that was part of what I was struggling with as well.
Got it. So you're super successful. You got the career cranking, you got the finances cranking, the whole family part is not working. And then you get crazy and wild, right? And this is what I love, because so many people will be unhappy and stay in the same place out of fear, out of scarcity, out of, worrying about failing. There's a million things that can go on in people's head that will stop them. So where did you get the courage and what did you say to yourself to go, you know what? I really need to make a change in my life?
Well, it actually started with smaller steps, like, well, what kinds of changes can I make? And then I eventually got to the big decision of quitting my job. But there's a quote, and I'm going to mess it up, and but it's about I don't even know who said it, so I can't even accurately reference them. But that courage isn't the absence of fear; it's the decision that something is more important. So I was incredibly scared to quit my job, and I was scared for everything that goes along with that. Will I be relevant? Will I be able to get back into the workforce? Will people think I can't handle it, that I had a mental breakdown? Like, what will people think? Will they think I'm weak? And then I was also scared about being a stay-at-home mom, because I thought, will I really genuinely suck at this job? Because at least I'm prepared for the other one. I've been training for years, but like, can I be a stay-at-home mom and be effective and successful in that role? And so and of course I was scared about the finances as well. And for me, what it boiled down to was that the fear of not investing time in the kids was significantly greater than all of the other fears that I was struggling with. But there was also a huge part of this that was ego driven. I didn't want to think I was giving up and quitting and that I couldn't have it all.
Okay.
Yep. And so I had to let go of that expectation of myself and that perception that I wanted to maintain for myself. But the alternative was thinking, okay, if the kids are, 10 and 12 and they already don't want to have a relationship with me, when they are teenagers and they're really hopefully going to need my advice and support, what chance do I have of influencing them to get them on the right path if it's already starting to fracture at this stage in their development?
Yes, because they get independent fast.
Yes. Faster than we want them
to. So there you are, and you decide, okay, I'm out of here, right? So you have to, as they say, rip off the Band-Aid and leave this prestigious, successful career you have. And just for fun here, what was the reaction? What did your kids say? What did your colleagues and your family say? Were people supportive? Did people think you were cuckoo? What happened when you did something that brave?
Well, it was actually, so the process itself, I gave 6 months notice, which might seem like it's a little ridiculous. But I had a really great relationship with my boss and with the organization. And, you know, I knew that I could effectively give the 6 months notice. So I truly benefited from having that in terms of planning for what we were going to do. The kids were really angry with me.
Really?
And because of the other decision that I had made, which was we weren't just going to take a year off and stay at home. We were going to take a year off and move to Europe, because I thought that that would be a great way for us to bond. I've lived overseas a bunch of times throughout my life, and I wanted the kids to experience that. And I've never been offered a position overseas. So I thought, you know what? We're going to go to Europe. I had enrolled the kids in the American school in Valencia. I thought that that would give us lots of fun things to do on the weekends and to explore and to grow personally, as well as together in a new situation. And so they were really angry about that decision about moving us to Europe for a year because of leaving their friends and starting a new school. Most people that I shared my decision with were so much more supportive and so much less judgmental than I was scared of. Yeah. And it surprised me on both sides, because I thought I would get the kind of like, you are cuckoo kind of thing that you mentioned, or, you know, you've lost your mind, Moran, what's going on? Most people were incredibly encouraging and supportive. And that helped to fuel my affirmation of that decision. I didn't need it. I felt like I didn't need it, but it definitely helped to solidify and affirm that decision.
So it's really wild, because it is a big decision to make a, you know, career move and exit a career. And, you know, they say, go big or go home. So you were like, you know, go big and go to Europe. You know what I mean? Yep. And then, so you tell the kids they're not real on board with it in the beginning. And then what's the progression of you, the kids in Europe, if you would share that?
Yeah, sure. So I had gotten them enrolled in the American school in Valencia, as I mentioned, and I had rented out our house. We lived outside of New York. As I was commuting back and forth from Jersey to New York. And I'd rented out the house because that was part of what was going to fund this plan of ours. And the goal was to leave the end of June and have from, you know, July to July in Europe, July of 2020 to July of 21 in Europe, and then to come back home to Jersey, and I would hit the market hard and get a job, and the kids would re-enter school. March of 2020 happened.
You know, nothing like making a massive decision and then there's a global pandemic. Oh, okay.
Right, exactly. And so that obviously significantly impacted our plans. I just didn't know how much it would. So the end of June is coming around. We've got to move out by July 1st because we've got renters coming, and Europe's closed. So we can't go there. So I thought in my mind, okay, well, Europe will certainly open up by the kids' school semester by September. So we'll just find a place to hang out for a couple of months, and let's take advantage of it like a, you know, a full-on summer experience. Like I remember in middle school when summers were, you know, were fully embraced. So we rented a place in Sanibel, Florida. And we learned how to fish, and we learned how to paddleboard, and we just did as many things as we possibly could outside, because it was obviously COVID as well.
Yes.
And then Europe didn't open, and we weren't able to enter. So we then had to come up with another plan. And the kids and I discussed what we loved about that experience and what we might be interested in doing differently or more of. And so then we moved to the Bayou and rented a place in Louisiana. And we learned how to crab and shrimp and boat and all kinds of crazy stuff. We lived right on the water.
That's now I gotta ask,
Yeah.
Louisiana. I mean, it's so
Uh-huh.
cool, but where'd that come from? You know, did the kids, did you watch the episode of National Geographic? Like, where did that
No.
goes? Because that's such an unusual Florida. I'm like, okay, how did
Yeah.
you with that? It's wild what you did.
So it's interesting because the kids, they loved, like my son loved learning how to fish. And so he wanted to be by water. And my daughter learned how, she loved paddleboarding. And so she wanted to be around water. And we had always talked about learning how to kayak and how to canoe. And so we were water driven. I had the idea, I still had in my mind that we were going to have a cultural experience. So I wanted to be close to New Orleans and to have an influence of what I thought would be, a culturally different experience for us. And then, of course, we were trying to look at cheap places to rent. And so
practicality comes in too. Absolutely.
Right, the bayou came right up to the list.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
So the kids had a great experience in Florida, and then they liked Louisiana, and then
we came and spent some time in Maryland, where I'm from originally, and we visited with my family. And then we went to Bar Harbor, Maine, and we spent several months there with the idea of kind of, if we were in the South, we were going to go full straight up to the north and experience the beautiful autumn. So Acadia National Park, we learned how to rock climb, and we tried to take advantage of everything that northern New England really provides during that time of year. And then we came back to Maryland, and the plan was to quarantine and re-enter the family bubble, so to speak, for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so we came back to Maryland. And
so you come back, and I like the way you say the plan was, because obviously your plan has done a lot of this, which has been amazing. And what I just got to say before you continue, what an incredible way to make up for lost time with your kids. Like, what phenomenal quality time and lifetime memories. Like, they'll never forget that. I mean, I can't imagine when I was a kid, my mom going, okay, let's go to Louisiana. Let's go to Florida. Let's go up and see the fall. Let's go. I mean, that's so cool that you got to do that. So you head back for the holidays.
And I'm going to use a prop here.
I'm waiting for the injury story,
Yep. I fractured my ulna, and I needed to have surgery in order to have a rod repair it. And I needed to be taken care of. And it might seem like a tiny injury of sorts, but when you think about the use of this is my dominant hand as well. I was really incapable of not only not taking care of the kids, but not even taking care of myself fully. And so we were already here. It happened on December 15th of 2020. And my parents kind of jumped into caretaking mode for me, and my sister jumped into caretaking mode for the kids. And that is when I had the moment of, I wouldn't say clarity, because there might have been a few drugs involved, but just this moment of thinking, holy crap, why are you trying so hard to do all of this on your own?
Yeah.
And isn't it time to finally move back home? Because I left Baltimore after high school when I graduated, and I've never lived here since. And it was after, by the way, getting over a feeling of feeling ashamed to accept help. So I said differently, I really loathed the fact that I had to be taken care of, because I had prided myself on being so independent and resilient and capable. And so I had to get over that emotional hurdle of not only accepting, but eventually even embracing the help, and then saying, oh my gosh, how much better is my life when I think about embracing more support and help from people that genuinely want to offer it and care
Yes.
about you.
You know, I think outside of your whole journey and the career change and all the other things, like what you just talked about is so critical. There are so many women who want to be Wonder Woman. You know,
Mhm.
I love her too. Everybody wants to be Wonder
Well,
Woman, but we want to
And
do
I wore
everything.
that. I wore that as a badge of honor
Yeah.
inside, which was when people would say like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know how you do it as a single mom." I would accept that as a compliment,
Yes.
which was part of how I had programmed my own narrative, which was, "Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it all."
I got it going on, you know. But what's interesting is that I had an experience where I was in a car accident and I couldn't do a lot of stuff. And I never really realized as much until that moment that sometimes when we're trying to do everything and be everything, we're actually denying connection. And that,
Absolutely.
because when you let somebody help you, there is the whole getting over not being completely perfect and self-sufficient and all that stuff. But there's
Yep.
also, there are people in your life, anybody who's watching this, that love you and feel like they can't contribute to you.
Yep.
And they can't connect with you because you got it all under control.
Completely agree. And that was part of what I realized as well, because I had offered support and help to friends and family, and it wasn't always accepted. It wasn't often accepted because I wasn't doing the same thing, accepting the help. And I think there's an element of like, well, if you're too good to accept help, then how does it feel to be on the receiving end? And when you express vulnerability, you're able to accept vulnerability, and there's reciprocity in that trust building relationship. So completely agree.
So you got this incredible new closeness with your family, and what a lesson to teach your children too, that they don't have to be everything and do everything alone.
Yeah.
So here you are with the Wonder Woman injury.
Yep.
And at some point,
Bionic.
you did shift into doing something else professionally, which I really want to talk about today, because
Great.
outside of the journey and outside all the other things, there's that element too. You have so much to offer. You make such a difference for women. Tell everybody, please, what you shifted into doing from there.
Sure. So I am the executive director for the Dr. Nancy Grasmick Leadership Institute, which is part of Towson University in Baltimore, Maryland. And our mission, our purpose is to support the development of competent and ethical leaders, all levels, all industries, all geographic areas, all different types of business models and sizes, as well as regardless of economic means. We provide different types of scholarship and accessibility for anyone that is committed and interested. So the program that I'd love for your participants and your members and your community members to consider applying for is our professional leadership program for women, which is in its 7th year running. It is a cohort-based, intensive, and immersive experience that also involves a very strong element of individualized coaching to help to accelerate career trajectories, but also the impact and the influence that women can have in the workplace, because we know we have very different dynamics, experiences, and perspectives than men do. And so this program is targeted for women. So applications are due in a couple of days and we can send a follow-up, but the Institute overall is very accessible for anyone, regardless of where you live. If you can't be in person here in Baltimore, we have lots of different types of programming that is available virtually as well.
Excellent, because I know we do have a lot of people from Maryland, but we have people from all over the place as well. So if I were watching this and I was thinking, okay, I would love to be, a better leader professionally, what would you say are some of the strengths and lessons that I would get out of being in a program like this?
I think that there is an element of practice and application that builds confidence. And I think that's particularly important for women because we are already starting from a perspective that is very different than men in terms of, what we believe that we're capable of versus men believing what they are capable of, just psychologically, we're built differently. And so there's an element of connection, community, skill building, practice, and application that helps to elevate the confidence so that when you're communicating, when you're collaborating, when you're attempting to influence, that level of confidence, I think, is crucial, but it only comes with practice. And this provides a safe space to practice, and with the support and the feedback that sometimes isn't always available within as consistently as we want to be within organizations.
Excellent. So we will make sure that we put a link with the application and the coursework, whether it's Maryland or whether you're somewhere else and you want to participate virtually. But before we run out of time, with all of these things that have happened in your life, and it's so exciting to like listen to the whole journey. There's no doubt that there are people who are going to see this interview and they'll say, you know what, I'm kind of at that place. And they may have a different reason. It may be like, I loved your 3 buckets and it is January as we're doing this. So they may go, okay, I've got this bucket, but my financial bucket, or maybe the same bucket. But if someone is watching this and they're saying, you know, I have this feeling that this is not where I want to be, or I should continue to be. And it could even be in their personal life as well. You know, people are making changes in their personal life as well as professional. But if you, having been through quite a journey, if you had, knowing what you know now, if you had the opportunity to give advice to someone who is contemplating or dreaming of making some big changes in their life, what would you say to someone like that, please?
It's the way that you even framed the question was fascinating, because you said if they should be. And I actually think that the questioning of I should be versus I want to and I need, there's a saying that says like nobody wants to be should on, right? Like
Absolutely.
I had created a lot of I should be, I should for myself and my own self narrative. And so I think unpacking the whys and questioning, do you really have to do that? Or is that something you could potentially explore? I think that as a starting place to evaluate future pathways, I think would be where I would suggest that people just start to think differently.
Excellent. And if someone does decide, you know, to take the leap, like you said, you had a lot of people supported you, but your kids are like, hey, we're not feeling this. You know, you get all the different dynamics. What kind of support do you think people should seek? Should they lock on to someone else who's done it, or someone who will back them no matter what happens? You know, how did you get yourself through that fear phase?
So I tapped into trusted advisors to think through this, people that I knew that would tell me the truth from their perspective, not someone that was going to blow smoke up my ass, but someone that was actually going to tell me genuinely what they thought, and people that I deeply trust and admire. And I kept it small, and I kept it with the group of people that I also believe that they wouldn't assess, they wouldn't judge me, right? So so you know, there were 3 or 4, and they were all women that I reached out to ask what they thought, and that helped to kind of and they were a combination of like former colleagues or friends or mentors, and that helped to formulate. Not one person had the idea. It was the combination and the culmination of all the ideas that surfaced from those conversations that helped to influence and shape my direction.
Yeah, there's nothing like good girlfriends, man. They tell you what's up. Don't they?
They sure do.
When you want to hear it, when you don't want to hear it, when you need to hear it, there's really nothing like that. It's such a unique relationship to have really strong female friendships. And you know, congratulations on all the changes. And really, I can't imagine that your kids won't remember that year as monumental in their lives. It's just amazing what you created out of nothing.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Leanne.
And coming out of, I have this grandiose plan, and then a pandemic comes and shuts the whole thing down. Like, you really knocked it out of the park. You weren't like, okay, we'll just go here. We're like, we'll go here, we'll go here. I mean, there's so many different things that they got to experience. It's wonderful. And congratulations on your professional success. So for everyone watching this, if you are in the Facebook group, we will put a link to the programs that she has, the women's leadership programs, and also she's joined the Facebook group. So if you comment below this interview, she will see it and you can comment back and forth. And if you end up watching this on YouTube, we will make sure that she gets to see all those comments and can interact with you there as well. And just a quick note, we will be back next Tuesday at 5 p.m. And also just to let you know that we now are loading these interviews onto a YouTube channel, so you can go to YouTube and just look up SLAE with Leanne Gabriel. And we now have started an Instagram account as well to kind of keep you in the loop. So slowly but surely, because we can't have somebody as fabulous as Erin and not have everybody hear about it, don't you think? Make sure if you can follow all that stuff, and then you can share some of these interviews with your friends who may have missed them, or go back and look at other ones. But Erin, thank you for, really doing what's so amazing. You were in the beginning trying to be the woman who had it all. And when you gave up that, you ended up being the woman who had it all. And that's what's so wild.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Leanne. And thank you for your leadership.
Oh, you're such an inspiration. Thanks a lot. It's been a blast. And we will see you all next Tuesday. Take care, everybody.
Right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.